This is how I plan to spend my summer as a 17-year-old biohacker. Of course, I want to have fun during the summer, but I have a main goal, and that is to reach 10,000 subscribers on all platforms for this summer during my holiday break. And this is how I plan to do it. The things I want to do is I basically want to start my own brand. I want to make things really good and efficient for you. Everything that I'm saying in this video I will be doing, and you will gain tons of value from this as well. I mean, you will get so much better focus, you will have so much more energy, you will probably get stronger, you will get fitter, you will get more jacked from every single thing in this video. Usually the first thing I do is I wake up around 8 to 10. I mean, it's going to be kind of different during the summer. Mostly I will be waking up at 9 because I'm going to bed at 2:30, and I will get into that later on why I'm doing that. 2:30 in the night, that is. Yeah, and before I start, I basically want to say that tons of research has gone into this routine. I've literally spent the last 2 to 3 years researching and looking at different creators on the internet, such as Andrew Huberman, Dave Asprey, a bunch of different people on the internet, and seeing like what is the most optimal for my training, for my focus, for my hormones, for my longevity, basically for everything in my health. And I've condensed it down in this routine so that you can get a ton of value while not spending too much time on thinking about elevating your health, basically. The first thing I do when I wake up is I do some form of light activity. Either I do sprints, I do a quick walk around the neighborhood, or sometimes a longer walk as well, or I do some simple what is it called? Jumping jacks. Now the reason I do this is because first of all I want to be outside when I'm doing this so that I get natural like sunlight exposure. I'm quite sensitive to the sun, as you can see, but I want to get natural sunlight exposure. I want to get sun into my eyes so that my circadian rhythm is in check, so that I release more cortisol. And in order for me to release more cortisol and to have my sleep basically better on later on in the day and the night, I want to release as much cortisol in the morning as possible, because when you do this you stop your melatonin production, you stop your melatonin secretion in the morning, so you get more awake in the morning. First of all, you peak your cortisol, which is going to mean that you're going to have better alertness, you're going to have better focus, more energy, and so on. So I get sunlight and I do a light activity because these two things elevate my cortisol in the morning, and I get more energy throughout the day, and I'm going to sleep better in the later parts of the day. After I'm done with that, sometimes if I get too hot, I take a cold shower, and if I get too sweaty, that is, I take a cold shower. And I usually record videos in the morning as well. I do, but yeah, basically why I do a cold shower after is also because that releases more cortisol in my body. It lowers my dopamine baseline. I don't have this kind of ADHD mind where I have to uh, task switch between a bunch of activities because I cannot focus on one. So a cold shower, light exposure in the morning, and some light activity is really great to start your morning. It doesn't need to take more than 5-10 minutes in doing this, and that's basically how I start my morning. I don't do some 4-hour Ashton Hall morning routine. You just don't need to do that. If you want to get as much work done as possible and to be as efficient as possible, you don't need to do anything of that. I basically focus on my health consulting business, as you can see in action right here. You're looking at it right now. Try to get as much done in the morning as possible, because this is where, like, the morning is where you get the most amount of work done. You already know this. But before I eat anything, I try to stay away from eating the first thing in the morning. I probably wait like 4 or 5 hours after I finished a bunch of work. And yeah, I do scripting, editing, filming in the morning, and usually in the middle part of the day after I'm done, I have my meals. I have 2 to 3 meals in the middle of the day during the when the sun is out, you know, so I get that sunlight eating, or daylight, yeah, daytime eating. So sometimes when I'm doing a heavy training day, if I'm doing multiple workouts per day, yesterday I did both paddle tennis and weight training. Those kinds of days I usually have a light breakfast that is containing fat and protein in the morning. Sometimes just 1 hour after I wake up, sometimes even 10 minutes after I've woken up, because that is going to enhance my workouts later on in the day. I noticed that when I'm eating a good breakfast that doesn't contain that much carbs, but that do contain fat and protein, that's when I'm the strongest inside the gym, because I'm just fueling myself throughout the day and I'm getting this, breakfast also stimulates cortisol and it heats up your body temperature, which is going to give you more energy and so on. So eating breakfast can be good if you have trouble with sleeping. If you are training later on in the day, you may potentially want to think about eating breakfast. But if you're doing work, I wouldn't recommend it because it's just a waste of time. It just puts your momentum down and you want to have as much momentum as possible inside of your day. Also, I'm a big fan of coffee. I know that a lot of health gurus online isn't. I know like Brian Johnson, Charlie Morgan, they don't like drinking coffee because they see it as a stimulant. And a stimulant may be bad for dopamine, it may be worse for focus, for deep work. I love coffee. I think it's the best drug that has been created by God. So me myself, I use it. I drink 1 to 2 cups every single day. Usually, sometimes I do a detox where I don't drink coffee for an entire month, but I don't think I will be able to quit coffee during my entire lifetime because I just love it so much. And how do I because some people, me myself, I get kind of anxious and I get like jittery and I might get shaky and I might not feel so good after drinking coffee on certain days because it's just kind of a strong effect for me. So what I do is that I add cacao to enhance the caffeine. I get more caffeine into my body for less caffeine. I don't know if that makes sense, but basically there's a compound inside cacao that makes your body able to take up the caffeine better, called theobromine. I also add cinnamon for a extra testosterone boost, for extra little health boost, and butter to curb, like to lower the cortisol release inside of my body, because the thing that the coffee does is that it releases more cortisol inside the body and it blocks your adenosine receptor so that you feel less tired. So I would add these three things to my coffee. Sometimes I even add maple syrup or I add honey as well, but that is rare because I don't like to have carbs in the morning. Yeah, so after I'm done with this work session, usually three or 2 to 5 hours of work in the morning at least, I eat my breakfast. I break my fast with some carbs. I mean, this is later in the day, so it doesn't really matter. I break it with some carbs, some protein, and some fat. Usually eggs or meat with fruit or some more starchy carbohydrate, because I immediately after that usually head to the gym. In the gym, I will usually hit like everything that feels right for me. I got this tip from Hamza that like you shouldn't hit a body part that you feel that it hasn't recovered. So if you do a push-pull split and you feel that you do Monday, you do push, on Tuesday you do pull, and on Wednesday you do legs. And the thing is, you're probably going to have a rest day after that, but sometimes during these 3 days you've done so much volume that you aren't recovered after the rest day. And that is my problem. I usually have a hard time recovering from workouts. I don't know why. I think it's like genetically I have bad sleep and so on. But basically what this makes me do is that I get really fatigued from training usually. I don't know why, because I'm basically optimizing everything in my life. I'm optimizing my training, my sleep, my hormones, everything. So it's kind of weird that this happens to me. But because of this, I need to have a weird training routine where I'm basically going to the gym. I don't know the day before what I'm training, but when I get to the gym, I decide this will feel good for me. This is where I'm most recovered. This is how I will get like progress. So I do a bunch of volume for that specific muscle. Maybe I go to the gym and I do like chest and biceps and then I go home like for a bunch of volume. Then the next day I maybe don't want to train, so I skip that day. And the next day I do pull and I do like 5 different muscle groups. And then I maybe the day after that I maybe do a bunch of volume as well, because I feel like I have a bunch of energy, and then the next day maybe I need to take a rest day. So basically my training is super unstructured. I don't really recommend this. If you can do a push-pull legs split, I would do that 100%. And basically I train for 45 minutes to 1 hour and 15 minutes, because this is like the cortisol gap. If you do less, you're basically getting no training, but if you do more, you're kind of exhausting yourself for the next day. You're getting more cortisol than you actually need, which is something that is really bad. So try to stick to 45 minutes to 1 hour and 15 minutes in your training. That is going to be really beneficial for you. And after I'm done, I usually do 10 minutes to 30 minutes of just walking, quite high speed walking, because after you're done with your training, I realized from a friend that he said to me that after you're done with your training, you have burnt out all the glucose in your muscles, and you're basically going to just burn fat after that. So that's a really efficient way to burn more fat, to get into ketosis really much faster and get into an enhanced mental state. So I really recommend that. Doing like light cardio, no really intensive cardio, no jogging, for example, because that is going to increase your cortisol so much that it's going to be really inefficient for my muscle building and for your muscle building as well. And usually I do some sauna. I like to talk to a lot of people inside the gym. I really like to socialize. I'm an extroverted person combined with an introverted. I'm like in the middle. So I like to talk a lot to a bunch of people inside the gym. Sometimes I drag out my workouts. But yeah, just have fun inside the gym. It's something that I recommend. Usually when I'm done with the gym, I usually have a post-workout meal where I'm getting all the nutrients that I need, nutrients that is going to be beneficial after my training. So I want to basically have some fast carbs. I want to have protein, so I get that protein, muscle protein synthesis after I went to the gym, because that is going to stimulate very much muscle growth. Food that contributes to your testosterone, to your training, to sleep, fast carbs directly after. Sometimes in the summer, I'm usually taking naps during the day after I went to the gym. If I'm feeling tired, if I'm deafing, sometimes I just go out and I sit and eat my meal, and I usually sun my balls as well. So that is something I really recommend. Like, it's going to really enhance your testosterone. And yeah, I don't try to take everything too seriously. I like to do my work. I like to do my training really good. I like to hang out with people. I like to spend time outside. Try to not be as stressed about what is going to happen in the future. I know that everything is going to work out fine for me, even though I don't have a summer job, even though I have like 5 subscribers. I know that everything is going to work out, and I think that you just have to have this mentality where you are having a really kind of laid back routine and a laid back life. Also, the reason why I'm going to bed so late, 2:30, and waking up at 9, is because I'm a strict Muslim, so I have my prayer times in that kind of schedule. The prayer times are quite late, so that is the reason. I go to bed quite late and I wake up quite late, because I need to, in order to pray on the right times. And if you're interested in getting advice straight from me, click the link below and I can help you with your routine. I can tailor a routine for you. And if there is any questions, just leave them down below and I will answer them. See you.